All right, there is the draft order for 2023. And we are indeed focusing on the top 10 here for this scale of 1 to 10. Teams in the top 10.
Yeah.
How desperate are they to draft a quarterback? We know the Panthers and the Texans. We don't need to focus on them. Let's
10
farther
and
down
10.
the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 and 10. 11 and 11. 11 and 12. Let's go to 4, the Colts. They have added Gardner Minshew on a 1-year deal.
Right.
Worth $3.5 million base. Somebody was pushing the idea that, they wouldn't want Lamar Jackson. They have Gardner Minshew. No, Gardner Minshew's the backup. They need a starter. So it's either going to be draft a guy at number 4, or if that doesn't work, if the guy you want isn't there, if somebody trades up with the Cardinals and they go quarterback, and those are the 3 guys you liked, and you go in a different direction, that's when Lamar Jackson becomes relevant. Either way, it's not going to be Gardner Minshew unless the whole plan falls apart.
Right.
How desperate should the Colts be, though, on a scale of 1 to 10? Should they be less than 10 because the Lamar Jackson option is potentially available, Chris?
Well, I mean, either way, the quarterback, it's a huge positional need. I mean, Gardner Minshew, top-tier backup quarterback, right? You know, I bridge quarterback, maybe, okay, but I don't even know if he's that. I think it's more just top-tier quarterback, you know, a top-tier backup quarterback. The Colts, I mean, on a 1 to 10 scale, yeah, with the way it looks right now, damn, I don't know. I feel like you got to put them at a 10. They need a quarterback, period. I don't care if it's Lamar Jackson or the number 4 pick, or maybe if, you know, this is where the Colts thing's interesting, Mike. Let's unpack this a little bit. You know, one is, what do they want to do on offense, right? Shane Steichen, new head coach, came from Philadelphia, right? We know he can run that type of offense. And, whoa, there's Anthony Richardson you could take at number 4. Yeah, he's raw, and he's got some things we got to work on. But I know if we pull Quentin Nelson and he's running behind him, watch out. And then I know that defenses are going to be so worried about that it's going to be great, favorable pass looks, and he can develop and get better in that department. Does Shane Steichen want to do that? Shane Steichen before Philadelphia was more of a traditional, you know, creative down the field drop back passing coordinator with what he did with Justin Herbert his rookie year. It's what they tried to do in Philly. It's why they were involved in trade conversations or to get other quarterbacks to run that type of offense. So that's the first thing, Mike. You know, where do they envision this going? But I think the need for a quarterback is about as high as the top 2 teams in the draft for my money, Mike.
Well, and, you know, the other side of this, too, we forget about Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor is a great running back.
Yes, he is.
He had never been injured, had never missed a game or a practice in high school or college. Last year, he had that ankle injury that plagued him for much of the season. You get him to 100%, you get him running hard, all of a sudden it becomes a lot easier to play quarterback. I agree with you. It's a 10 for the Colts. They just are a little too far down for comfort because I worry about somebody springing ahead of them with the Cardinals, and then they're going to have to settle for the 4th guy. They better feel great about 4 guys because it may be that the 4th guy on their list is the guy that's available for them when it's time to make their pick.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I'd be scared too. You know, and I know there's some other teams here that, you know, need a quarterback or whatever, but that's the interesting part with me is what direction do they want to go? And this is a coach that can make it either way go. Now, listen, what if they wanted to go the drop-back quarterback thing? And I expect Stroud to go 1, Young to go 2, okay? Now they're wanting to go, damn, we wanted a drop-back quarterback. We wanted more of the, you know, Hendon Hooker, Will Levis type of guy, right? Do they take them at number 4? I think ultimately as we continue to go here, I think Levis is going to fall. I think people are going to continue to see what I saw on film, and he won't be, you know, a top 5 pick. First rounder, sure. But, you know, you might be able to get a Hendon Hooker or Will Levis a little later, you know, to where if you're at 4, you could go, okay, maybe we could trade down, you know, or do you not take that risk? I don't know. I'm just, again, throwing food for thought out there to have a conversation because there's some options, and it's kind of interesting when you kind of unpack it here early on in this draft process.
And here's where we cannot ignore the owner factor because we already know that there's an impatience that Jim Irsay has manifested by firing Frank Reich during the season, insisting on hiring Jeff Saturday, and seemingly trying to come up with any excuse he could to give Jeff Saturday the job. And fortunately for the franchise, not ultimately doing it. But, at the introductory press conference for the new head coach, Shane Steichen, Irsay blurted out how much he likes the Alabama quarterback. So we talk about the Cardinals trading out to number 3. It may be as simple as the Cardinals saying to the Colts, we're going to trade with someone else if you don't come up to 3.
Sure.
And it's going to be one of those guys. It's going to be Stroud. It's going to be Young. It's going to be Richardson going to the Colts, whoever's left. And at this point, presumably it would be Richardson, which could be the best possible outcome, Chris.
Could be.
Because as I was saying yesterday, or the other day, whatever day it was, they're all blending together. You say superstar potential. If I'm the coach or the GM, I have to balance it because if it blows up, I may not be there to draft the next quarterback. If I'm the owner, I say, let's do it, because if it doesn't work out, I'll draft a new quarterback when this one fizzles out.
Yeah, no, and I think, listen, Richardson, as we talked about, is raw, but there's so many positive things, and he's not as raw as I thought. I don't think he's as raw as Malik Willis was last year, just to give some context to that situation, right? And he's a natural thrower, and he wants to play in the pocket and throw the football that way. He does. He's not looking to scramble and run where you're just like, oh, man, that's all he wants to do. He wants to throw and play the position the right way. And then, of course, like we talked about, with his ability to run and do all those things, that'll buy him some time to get better in those other departments. And then the last piece of the puzzle with a guy like Richardson is really just going to come down to the person. Because like you're talking about, the things, we've talked about his skill set and his DNA and whatever else, it's all special. We've never seen anybody like this. Never. There's never been Michael Parsons playing quarterback in the NFL. Never. I mean, this is different than even Cam Newton because he's got a gear when he runs that Cam Newton didn't have. He can go 70 yards to the house against LSU that's got 4.3 and 4.4 all over the football field. But it's going to come down to the human and just hey, is he a good kid? Does he work hard? Is he going to do all the little things that it takes to be a really good professional? I've heard nothing but good things along those lines, but that's not what I evaluate off of. I just go off the film. You know that. But if they can be comfortable in that department and know that, hey, this guy's a worker and loves the game, then damn, I would take him at 4, and I'd go, don't worry, we'll fix some of these other things. He'll work at it and get better at it.
All right, Seahawks at number 5. And they have, from time to time, confused me. Is Pete Carroll just trying to make it look like he's interested in a quarterback so maybe they could trade out of that spot so you don't have the Raiders at 7 or the Falcons at 8 thinking, all we have to do is trade up to number 6. We don't have to go all the way to number 5. Seahawks aren't going to take a quarterback. Maybe they will. The Geno Smith contract makes it very clear it can be as short as a 1-year arrangement between Smith and the Seahawks. So where would you put 1 to 10? How desperate do you believe the Seahawks are or should be to get a quarterback at number 5?
I don't think it's like, big desperation here. I'm going to put the number at a 5, right? I think the only reason I think even maybe about making it a bigger number is just for one reason. And I go, well, you're at 5th. You're at the 5th pick of the draft, and, it's rare that you're there, and this might be your, only chance here in the next few years to get a quarterback at that spot. But I don't think it's desperation. I mean, Geno Smith, to me, again, I think we're in cahoots here. He's got big-time talent. I mean, he's got, he could be the starting quarterback for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. He's got that type of talent. They got Drew Lock as a backup. There's a lot of holes on their football team. We all agree it was kind of miraculous how well they did last year to a degree with some of the position, weaknesses they have there. So I'm going to put it at a 5. I don't think it's as desperate as Indianapolis there in Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going to put it all the way to 3. I think you have to let Geno Smith have his moment.
Right.
You undermine Geno Smith if you bring in the guy where the question initially becomes, if you take a guy that high in the draft.
Yes.
Now, I think they're looking to trade down and trade down and trade down and trade down and stockpile draft picks.
And they got the 20th pick, Mike, too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. If you could get a guy in round 2, maybe they really like Will Levis and he falls out of round 1 altogether. But if you have less of an expectation, you get a round 1 quarterback, there's an expectation he's going to play. You get a top 10 quarterback, and then the guy who's currently your starter becomes the placeholder until the 5th overall pick is ready to go. I don't think they want that. They just got out of a situation where the quarterback was too much of a focus of the team. You make the 5th overall pick a quarterback, and all of a sudden the quarterback becomes the focus.
That's
of the
a great
team.
way to say it, Mike.
Starting
You're
with
right. You're
when
right.
does he play, and then when he is playing, he's your guy.
Yeah.
So I go back to thinking that Pete Carroll is just trying to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you said that was the way to
trade
say it, Mike. You're right. They don't want to make it all about the quarterback again. They just got out of that disaster. I think that's the bottom line. I think that puts the bow on the Seattle conversation. And, yeah, I don't expect them to take a quarterback at 5.
All right, the Lions at 6th overall with Jared Goff, keeping him longer than we thought they would, probably longer than they thought they would. I thought it was 2 years and out for Goff. Seems to be the guy. How desperate should they be with the 6th overall pick in looking at a potential replacement?
Well, like Seattle, they're interesting in they have a pick at number 6 and they have a pick at number 18, right? Where Seattle was 5 and 20. Now, I think I'm going to put their desperation, I think, a little higher than Detroit. I mean, than the Seahawks. One, I'm not sold on Jared Goff maybe as much as everybody else in the world. It's been better. He exceeded expectations. I'm not sure I'm sitting here ready to go, oh, he's the guy and he'll lead you deep into the playoffs and all of that. No, he's done a really good job. But, their team is about, you have to worry about beating them beating you up in the run game, being physical. They got a great offense. They got, underrated, undervalued skill guys that, are really damn good. He's done well. He's held down the fort. I just don't know if he can ever get you over the hump. I guess that's what I'm saying. So I'm going to put their number, I'm going to put it at like a 7. I am. I'm going to put it at a 7. There's a part of me that thinks that was as good as you're ever going to see Jared Goff. It was last year. That's where I am in that. And I don't mean to be a hater. That's just my honest evaluation there. But where I think I could be different with them is I think they could go like maybe marquee defensive player at 6 overall. And then you get down to 20. And like you brought up a little bit, with the Seattle thing, you get down to 20 or 18, and you go, whoa, Hendon Hooker's here. Or, whoa, Will Levis is here. Maybe that's when you think about pulling the trigger on one of these quarterbacks. But that's my 2 cents on that, Mike. What about you?
Yeah, I think
it's a tough one.
Where they are right now, I would give Jared Goff another year. I mean, if I'm making a move, I'm making a move for Lamar Jackson. I'm not making a move for a rookie, especially when you consider by the time they draft, chances are how many guys are going to be gone? The top 3 are going to be gone by then, without question. Maybe a 4th one will be gone by then, too. But I'm going to stick with Goff. I'm going to put it at a low number. I'm going to put it at 3, just like the Seahawks.
Okay.
And this is the broader psychology of where the Lions currently are. They're entering the season for the first time since the glory days of Barry Sanders with high expectations. So let's see what the season goes. Let's see. If they fail to live up to the expectations, so what? They at least got to enjoy a year where going into it they have high expectations. Let's see what Jared Goff does. Can he duplicate? Can he find a higher level? And maybe, just like the Seahawks, get a guy later. Maybe get a guy in round 2 that isn't breathing down Jared Goff's neck. Let him have one more season to cement himself or not, and then you make the decision after that. All right, Chris asked for it, so we're going to do it. We had 2 teams left in the top 10 we didn't get to because we're a little too talkative today. Lack of sleep makes me more talkative, not less talkative. Raiders at 7th overall. How much do they need to draft a quarterback? Scale 1 to 10.
Well, I think in the perfect world, the Raiders want a young quarterback, but they were stuck in a spot that I don't know if they were going to get their type of quarterback there at pick number 7. And I think that's the big thing. And I know there's, I know from people around football, they certainly called around about trading up. I think that's pretty widely known there. But I don't think it's desperation. I don't. So I'm going to put it at like a 3 or a 4. I think that they can totally hold down the fort with Jimmy Garoppolo. In some ways, I really think he's better fits in this system and this offense with Josh McDaniels than he does with Kyle Shanahan and what he wants. So, I think there's that. their team too, like we've talked about with some other teams. Hey, they got some veteran people on the offensive side of the ball. They're ready to roll right now. They need to use some of these assets high in the draft on the defensive side of the ball. They got no blue chip or very few blue chip players on that side of the ball. So that's where I'm going to say low, and I think they're, for now, content with Jimmy Garoppolo, and I don't imagine them drafting a quarterback at 7.
What number did you?
I think 3. I'm going to give it a 3.
What number did you have? Yeah, I'll agree with you on that, just because Josh McDaniels strikes me as somebody who would take special pride in finding a guy later and developing into something. And this Garoppolo deal, it can be 1 year, it can be 2 years. It's very favorable money for the Raiders. And let's not kid ourselves, and hopefully the Raiders won't kid themselves. They're in the AFC West with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Russell Wilson. So let's give it some time. And if it doesn't work, because I also believe Mark Davis is fully committed to keeping Josh McDaniels around as the coach because he doesn't want to pay the buyout, wants to keep him around. Already had the issue where he had to buy out John Gruden when he didn't want to. I think McDaniels is going to get more opportunities, and I think Davis is very self-aware on some things, very self-aware when it comes to where his team currently is. And so I think they have the luxury of time to see what happens with Garoppolo. Don't push it. Like you said, they need help defensively. I think we're on the same page there. Falcons at 8th overall. Desmond Ridder steps in as the starter. Taylor Heineke is the backup. How desperate should they be? Scale of 1 to 10 to get a quarterback in that spot.
I think it's pretty high. This is one where, again, I know I had the comments, and they were a team that I kind of had on the radar as far as would make sense to go after Lamar Jackson, right? I'm going to put this at like a 9. I don't see Desmond Ridder as being the future, and maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, then, I'll take it on the chin and that's it. But I just didn't see enough there last year physically to make me think he can definitely do this. Okay. I mean, like that right there, that was a completion. Yes. But that was a horrible decision, and the receiver should have been killed and it should have been intercepted. Right. That's where I don't know if I see the potential there. Obviously Atlanta must see something. But, I look at them as a team that needs something. There's signs right now saying it's Desmond Ridder, and they're cool with him and Taylor Heineke. But they'd be another team where if Anthony Richardson was on the board, I would go, wow, man, you want to play smash mouth football and do that type of stuff? And we saw what you had with Marcus Mariota, and here's the perfect guy for that. So that's where I look at it. But, yeah, I'm going to put it high, Mike. I'm going to go 9 here.
I'm going to agree with you. They need star power.
Yeah, there you go.
To fill that stadium. $2 hot dogs isn't going to do it, right? They're very famous for their cheap food, which I fully respect because I am cheap. But you need to have something to draw people into the stadium to buy the cheap food and beverage and everything else. So, if Richardson's there, it's walk, don't run. It's don't even take the first 10 seconds of the 10-minute window. I agree with you completely. I just don't think he'll be there at number 8. But they need something. And I don't rule them out. I think this Lamar Jackson thing is going to have life
later
after
on
the draft.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just getting a feeling
that
anybody who's going to do it is going to do it after the draft. Think of it this way. If they had done it now, you go to Arizona for the league meetings, and you got to deal with the cold shoulders and the harumphing of the other oligarchs. We get through the draft. Now, I know they meet in May, but it's not the same thing. It's not as long. It's quick in, quick out. It's like a 3-day thing when you do the late March meeting, and it just feels like that's a greater atmosphere to be shunned by your colleagues. If you're thinking about doing it, maybe the time to do it is after the draft. Maybe the time to do it's after the May meeting when you know you're not going to see any of these people until October, and maybe the dust settles on whoever's pissed off that you did a fully guaranteed contract or a largely fully guaranteed contract for Lamar Jackson. But they need star power however they get it. So I agree with you. The desperation's there, and if they don't get Anthony Richardson or someone of that ilk in the draft, think seriously about making a run at
Hendon Hooker would make sense to them too. I mean, to me, that's their kind of guy as well. Big, gonna stand in the pocket, make throws. There is the the value of him running. I know not right away off the ACL, but he can take it around the edge and run for 30 yards if he's got it. That's not what he wants to do. It's not his main game there, but I could see that making sense for them as well. To me, it's just a big thing. It was, where is he going to fall? Where is he going to be viewed ultimately, in the NFL eyes, right? I feel like the good thing I love about my rankings is I feel like now people are, maybe call around about him a little bit. You're starting to see him more in the first round conversation, top 20 pick, stuff like that. I think ultimately that's where he's going to be, but will he be viewed as a top 10 pick where a team like Atlanta would maybe think about that? I don't know. That's where it's going to be. For me, he's worthy of that. I just don't know if the rest of football sees it that way.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.